Welcome to UpLift Women's Wellness. I'm Bethany Bush, founder of Head to Toe Strength.
And I'm Auria Zahed, a licensed marriage and family therapist. We're here to empower and inspire women to thrive through holistic wellness.
Each week, we'll dive into topics like fitness, mental health, and personal growth.
And share real conversations and actionable insights to help you live your strongest, healthiest life.
Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started.
Okay, well, I'm so excited today because we have a very special guest with us who's going to go over self-love, which is really obviously important in this day and age of pressure and social media and the shame and blame that happens to women all the time. So I'm very excited for this conversation. Do you want to do a little intro for everybody?
Sure. I'm Ilona Varo. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and also a mastery method coach. And I work primarily with women around body image, anxiety, self-worth, self-acceptance, self-love, eating disorders, and just really, I always say the through line is helping women feel good in their mind and body, feel resilient, be who they want to be, and tune out the noise of expectations and pressure that ends up in a lot of unhealthy behaviors oftentimes.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we can't wait to hear from you. Do you want to get started?
Let's go for it. So we're talking about self-love. Is that right? That's what the people want to hear?
Please. Yes, the people and Bethany and I.
I love it.
I'm obsessed. I'm so excited. I want to hear because I don't take care of myself at all, especially being, this whole first year of small business ownership is like, you'll take care of you later.
Yeah, I hear that all the time from moms, and their kids are now in college and the later never came. So yeah, we never want to delay the importance of modeling healthy behavior, I think. And so that's oftentimes where I get a lot of buy-in from my clients that are moms, for example, is you would never encourage your child to not take care of themselves. So why are you any different? That is a lot of times the approach also with the eating disorder and disordered eating clients too, is like, okay, well, you'd never starve a friend, or you'd never, use food in a way that was unhealthy or harmful. You would never encourage a friend to do that. So that's always a great approach if someone is kind of like, okay, self-love, self-care, all that, we'll do that later. It's like, okay, well, let's practice what we preach. And if we wouldn't encourage a friend or a loved one to do that, then why are we any different? The same rules apply to us as others. And so it's really important to not forget about ourselves. But self-love isn't necessarily, this over the top obsession, put myself on a pedestal, love every aspect of myself. It really, I think, comes down to self-respect and tuning into yourself, knowing your wants, your needs, prioritizing, and even if not prioritizing, at least having your wants and needs be part of the conversation. So staying away from this all or nothing thinking. I think a lot of times people think self-love and self-care is, the bubble baths and the mani-pedis and the massages and the, it doesn't have to be, it can literally be, I'm pausing for 30 seconds to just take some deep breaths and check in with what do I actually want and need today? Do I need something emotional, something physical, some sort of connection? Do I need to improve my self-talk? It really is checking in and acknowledging where you're at moment to moment. It doesn't have to be anything more complicated than that. You can take it as far as you want, depending on, access to things and resources and you name it. But we also kind of want to check in with, is it bordering on now attention seeking, or are we overindulging because we're trying to skirt around having to deal with other issues? So like with everything in life, you can take it to an extreme. Something that is incredibly healthy and useful can cross over into unhealthy, avoidant behavior. So that's just, I think, another perspective to kind of keep in mind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I liked what you were saying about self-love, that it's really just making sure you're a priority, especially because we initially were saying that women tend to avoid taking care of themselves, and then they don't tackle the self-love perspective. So I think that it's really important for people to know that they're a priority too. And that's a good starting off point.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't make yourself a priority, then how are you expecting someone else to make you a priority? And then that breeds resentment in relationships. Well, if you're not modeling a certain behavior for yourself, you can't expect someone else to do that for you. So it really starts with our relationship to ourselves, and that can be a jumping off point of how we want others to treat us. So even from that perspective, modeling healthy behavior, self-care, self-worth, self-love, it really is not just for yourself, but also the people around you, people you care about, how you want to be treated in return. So it's really important. And yeah, I think women, we are socialized to be good girls and obey and always be polite and always be kind and be the caretaker and do things for other people. And so it's very easy to fall into the trap of overcompensating with like what we do for others instead of staying attuned to what do we need to do for ourselves.
Which then can bring up that resentment, because then you're like, well, you're not doing this for me, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And it's like,
Yeah.
Well, you're doing so much pouring, who's pouring into you?
Yeah, exactly. I literally had this conversation with a client of mine today who was talking about a relationship dynamic, and that was exactly my feedback is, well, what are you doing for yourself to meet that need? You're expecting your partner to meet that need for you, but are you doing anything for yourself? And there was this light bulb moment of like, oh, there's actually so much I can do for myself that I'm not doing, but instead here I am being resentful that my partner is not showing up in a certain way, where I can kind of take back control and kind of refocus my attention and not even really need anything from the other person, which also alleviates pressure. And paradoxically, then the person is going to want to show up for you when you're not nagging them. They're going to willingly want to show up and be supportive. So I love the paradoxes of human behavior. It's just, it's always the opposite of what you think.
Yes. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I do what I do, and I'm sure that's probably one of the reasons why Auria started doing what she does, because it's just interesting if you think it's going to be one way, and then you get into it and it's like, oh, it's all on me. It's not your fault. Actually, crap.
Back to you.
And I'm having one of those conversations with one of my clients of like, when can you give yourself an hour? Like, you've carried, held, had, the whole family, like, what is an hour going to truly cost you in a week?
Yeah.
Of your own sanity.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, wow. She's like been rattling that around in her head. And it's kind of been, like she's getting like, yeah, I have been putting me last.
Yeah. Burnout doesn't work. It's not a good look. Doesn't feel good. Doesn't do anyone any justice. It makes us bitter, angry, resentful. And then that affects our relationships, our work. So it's just this downhill spiral. Self-care is non-negotiable. And I always look to like the providers that I work with. I want them to be taking care of themselves. I don't want to be going to like a medical doctor, for example, that is binge drinking or smoking or, like not caring, not sleeping just for the sake of like, showing up for all their patients. Like, no, I'd rather you take care of yourself and have like a couple less patients than burn yourself out. So there we go back to that like role model behavior again. I think, just be very mindful of how you're showing up in the world and what you're expecting of others, and have that self-awareness to check in with, am I practicing what I preach?
I have to tell that to my therapist all the time.
Yeah. I definitely practice what I preach.
I love that.
Yes. I'm a big rest person though, and I'm very proud of that.
I love that. I know. I think the older we get, the more I'm like, cozy life. Go to bed early, rest, sleep. Yeah. Put your feet up the wall, decompress, take some deep breaths. We're not machines. As much as some of us like to think and perform like machines, we're not machines. And even when we have machines running the world, they're going to need to be unplugged every once in a while too, right? And, let them rest and let them recalibrate and get an update. So there's no avoiding it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do know that it is so much easier for me to prioritize myself as someone who does not have children.
Yes.
So what would you say is kind of like a starting point if there is a parent, a mother feeling like I want a self-care, I just don't know how to carve out time?
I think you can maybe try to engage the children in self-care also. I mean, so if you're modeling self-care to your kids, try to do an activity together that maybe can decompress the nervous system a little bit or bring a little bit of silence or calm. Start to teach them about mindfulness when they're young, or ways of just checking in with what they need in the moment, how to get their own needs met. Walking is just a very simple, slow, mindful walks without music, without distraction, no true crime podcasts, like we're so overstimulated. So stillness and silence are the two great entry points for self-care. Obviously, those are the hardest things. If you have children, stillness and silence don't exist in your household. So even if it means getting up a few minutes earlier before the kids get up, I know a lot of moms like their morning time, their peace and quiet. So even just readjusting your priorities, maybe you're not staying up late watching TV and calling that your self-care, but you're going to bed and you're waking up earlier so that you can do something a little more mindful towards your self-care. I think doing an audit on what your self-care is too. I think a lot of people say like, oh, I scroll on my phone. I'm like, okay, well, that is not self-care. The level of subconscious material that we're inundated with and just absorbing, and how that affects our thoughts, our behaviors, our decision-making, our comparison, our self aspect. So really take an audit of what you call self-care, and genuinely, honestly, really be real with yourself. Is that supporting you, or are you just avoiding, distracting from feeling your feelings and taking care of yourself in a more nourishing way?
I love that you say that, because that's so true. So many people are like, I binge a show, or I do this, or I do that. It's like, but that's also, like you said, at a certain level, it's more harmful, and it's just the other extreme of disconnect.
Yes.
And like, I love that you bring that up, because a lot of people are like, well, I do my self-care. It's like, and I love that you said audit it, because that's so perfect, because now my self-care is when I take my dog on walks, because I'm never plugged in, I'm never on my phone, I'm never touching it. We're just wandering around in nature, and she's sniffing and I'm looking at whatever and listening. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. And I think general rule of thumb, if you put the word binge in front of something, it's probably not self-care, right? Like I binge a TV show. It's like, okay, well, first of all, that's implying that there's a feeling of being out of control. There's shame around it. There's something that is done to excess to avoid feeling a certain feeling. So I know I'm very word conscious, and I'm very nitpicky about like the words we use and how we talk about our lives and how we talk about ourselves. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind too.
Very helpful. How can we go from self-care to self-love?
Self-care is a part of self-love. I think it's like maybe the steps toward the state of self-love. I also think self-love is a practice. I think all of these things are a practice. So it's not necessarily a fixed state to get to of like, okay, I love myself now. Nothing can shake that. Think of any relationship, anyone you love, anything you love. Our relationship to it tends to change. It's never the same level of love, the same type of love, the same intensity. So just holding it lightly, holding it loosely. I think that's also where a lot of people go wrong with this self-love, self-care topic, is that they, I don't know about you, but like at least my clients, they're very rigid. They like to have rules and lists and structures and to-dos. And so it doesn't have to be so formal. It doesn't have to be every single day at 7 a.m. I do this thing to show that I love myself. It's much more fluid. It's much more flexible, and adjust to what your capacity is day to day. I think that's a part of self-love too, is being like forgiving and flexible with yourself instead of rigid expectations of, well, now I say I love myself, I have to feel this way every single day, and it just has to be. There's no pressure, there's no force in self-love. I always think of that like metaphor of the Buddhist monk that, like, keep your palm open. If a bird flies on there and like wants to hang out for a little bit, cool. But if you grasp onto that bird, you're going to crush it. So you never want to like attach so hardcore to anyone or anything. It's just enjoy the present moment of the self-care that you're doing, the self-love you're experiencing, the whatever is present for you. That if it's a pleasant experience, just be present with it instead of worrying about like, well, now it has to always be this way, and now I have to hold on to this.
And I see that come up a lot as being on the exercise and fitness side of our company, where my verbiage around it is very different than when I started. And I'm very much like, we had a conversation yesterday of, I'm a lazy water drinker. And I was like, why does it have to be lazy? And it was this whole conversation of like, no, maybe we're not doing this, because that, and then with exercise, it can be self-love, but a lot of the times it turns into really toxic, harmful, hurtful behavior when you're actually trying to make yourself better, but then you're so regimented. And like you said, every day at 7 a.m., I have to go run 10 miles. And it's like, exercise can be one thing. It doesn't have to be boot camps. I want to die laying on the floor. Oh yeah, I loved myself. It's like,
yeah. Overly attaching to anything creates suffering. And I think the same thing goes for identities. If you identify as a lazy water drinker, for example, it feels kind of like comforting and soothing to have a label, to have an identity, but then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now you're doing everything in your power, consciously or subconsciously, to stick to that identity. Well, this is who I am. So a lot of my work with my clients is identifying the identities, because the identities are also that subconscious material. We don't even know how we identify. We rarely go around life thinking like, what identity am I today? And how am I being? It's just like, we have our habits, our behaviors, our thoughts, our triggers. And before all of that, there's a subconscious identity that we're playing into. So it can be very helpful to know that and to try to de-identify from whatever it is that's running your subconscious life.
Yeah, that's extremely helpful. It was like what you were saying before of just evaluating and reevaluating, like what are the words you use to describe yourself? Can we make them kinder and gentler? And like you were saying, fluidity and flexibility. I think that's so helpful, because I've seen the rigidity with my clients and setting goals and then not hitting goals, and then they're mad at themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we're working on self-love and now you're mad at yourself.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah.
That's not the point of therapy.
Yeah. I had a mentor once who would never accept I'm mad at myself, because he was like, well, are you sad at yourself? Are you glad at yourself? Like, I'm mad at myself is the only phrase that we say in that way. And typically we're avoiding deeper experiences, deeper emotions, deeper thoughts. Again, like the layers of the subconscious, when we just say I'm mad at myself, because it's such a common phrase and we all assume to know what that means, but it's also kind of like a cop out and a cover up. So that's always kind of stuck with me of, I'm never going to accept I'm mad at myself. There's usually something deeper and more poignant underneath that's worth looking into. But yeah, I totally get that. And I think the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to stay flexible and to check in with yourself, audit your behaviors, audit your thoughts, most of us are not honest with ourselves. You know, we all do things, say things, and engage in behaviors that we know on some level is not good for us, or is not healthy, or is not supportive toward the goals that we're working toward, but we do it because we're creatures of comfort. We like ease. We hate change. We don't want challenge. We want to just like poof, get our goals met immediately without the blood, sweat, tears, all that. So it's human nature, and we all have room to be more honest with ourselves. And I think that's a great starting point. And be honest with yourself, not from a place of shame or judgment or criticism, but curiosity. I think that's worth mentioning too, because a lot of listeners are probably like, well, I'm really honest with myself. I'm brutally honest with, okay, but you're probably also really mean about it. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how would you support a child that's struggling? You wouldn't like beat the shame further into them. You'd get curious. You'd offer alternate perspectives. You try to look at one thing they can start to do differently instead of, okay, you have to uproot everything in your life and do everything completely different. Just like baby steps.
Yes, that's a really good way to put it. I actually give the advice of what would you tell your best friend? Because that's what's so interesting to me is everyone is an insanely wonderful best friend. So loving, so forgiving, incredibly flexible, and says all the right things, but you don't know how to do that for yourself.
Yeah. Mirror work is really powerful. I think a lot of people shy away from it. In my grad program, I did a whole study on the impact of being able to gaze into your own eyes in the mirror and speak to yourself and really be with yourself. I think the only time we tend to look in a mirror is, like, is there anything in my teeth, or check my makeup, or whatever, but really gazing into your own soul and seeing who's in there, what emotions are present, and being able to witness yourself in that way can be very powerful too.
I love that. Yeah, there was a study, I don't know if you heard about it, and now I don't even know where it came from, but it said, we look in the mirror so infrequently that if we saw ourselves on the street, we wouldn't know it was us.
I believe it.
It's like, okay, yeah.
I totally believe it.
That is so true. Yeah, and that'd be very helpful to look at yourself and speak to yourself in these helpful and kind, non-judgmental ways.
Yeah, definitely. And start small. We want, just 51% of the puzzle to tip. You don't need to be 100% like affirming and compassionate and supportive. Just make it the majority. The majority vote is in favor of kindness, compassion, acceptance, support, nurturing, wisdom. I think that's a great audit. I like to ask people, like, okay, is that wise? Is that a wise choice? Is that a wise thought? Is that a wise behavior? No, it's probably impulsive. It's probably reactive. So even just checking in with that higher self of, okay, what would be the most wise thing here?
Yeah. Such a good idea. Love that.
There's so much we can do to help ourselves. It just really takes a moment to check in with yourself. Be willing to believe that you can change, you can evolve. I mean, all of our careers are built on change, right? The coaching, the therapy world, the health care system is billions and trillions of dollars, right? So we believe in change. We want change. We just get in our own way. We sabotage. So being honest with yourself and believing that you are capable of change is a big piece of the puzzle.
Well, and also unlearning your own self-beliefs.
Yeah. That probably weren't yours to begin with.
Yep. Those things that go through generations that get put on you by other people.
Yeah. It's worth exploring. It's worth getting curious about. It's worth asking, is this still serving me? It got me to where I am, so it was probably a part of the survival story, but it doesn't have to be a part of the thrive afterwards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ilona, do you mind going into the 5 love languages?
Yeah. So I like to
love
look
that.
at self-care also from a perspective of how people have the 5 love languages. So talking about words of affirmation, acts of service, gift giving, quality time, and physical touch, how to flip that onto your relationship with yourself. So, words of affirmation would be how are you speaking to yourself and about yourself? If you know that that is an area that needs improvement, that is a great place to start. Acts of service. How do you show up for yourself? How do you take care of yourself? What behaviors do you engage in? What type of self care? How do you support yourself through struggles and challenges? That would be the way to flip acts of service for yourself. Gift giving, pretty self explanatory. Do you allow yourself to buy things for yourself when you want them, when you need them? Or is there this sense of, I don't deserve anything? I'm only going to buy for others, but I am not going to buy for myself. Quality time. Do you spend time being with yourself? Whether it's going on a walk without distraction, sitting in silence, meditating, any way that you can go deeper into the connection with yourself. It could be reading if it's more like the personal development. It's more so journaling, less about consuming, but really just being with yourself. And then physical touch. How kind are you to your body? I think this would come in the sense of probably physical intimacy, but it can also be your workouts. Are you hard on your body? Do you push yourself when you know you need a rest day? Are you checking in with what your muscles and your joints and your bones are telling you? Or are you just completely disconnected and forcing some external expectation on yourself? So even from that sense, you can absolutely look at the 5 love languages and physical touch as it applies to you. So I think a lot of people are very aware of the type of love they want to receive, but they rarely ask themselves, how do they give that to themselves? Do you ladies know what your love languages are?
Mine changed. That's what I was thinking. I was like, how to. Mine changed from physical touch to words of affirmation.
Great.
So, and I'm terrible at it. I'm absolutely terrible at it. And Aria laughs at me. We kind of have a joke because I don't understand success in my own lens. So to me, it's like, well, how did I do? And, coming from an athlete background and all that, that makes sense of like, how was my performance today? And
Yeah.
so trying to speak to myself, especially right now, I feel like this year has been, how many more lessons do I need to learn in how to be like kind to me?
Yeah.
Because
I
I
love
can
that.
do it to anybody. And like you're talking about the physical touch aspect in exercise, I'm like, now how does that feel today? Is that where we want to, like, you literally are speaking my language, but to me, I'm like, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. And I think that's the greatest takeaway for anyone tuning in. If they can really just reflect on how they're relating to themselves compared to what they're preaching to others, that's a great starting point. Just start to be honest with that. The more we confront ourselves with honesty, that's how change happens, right? Like we reach a breaking point of like, I'm just so fed up. I can't do this anymore. Okay, now I'm willing to change. So great. Realize the fact that you're not practicing what you preach with words of affirmation or positive self-talk, and you'll get annoyed with yourself enough to where you're like, okay, we're gonna do something different now.
Yeah, I'll come to Ari and be like, hey, so I think I am smart. And she'll go, what happened? Because I'm
And
like,
words are so important. Even, an emotions list, a basic emotions list. I give it to every single one of my clients because we are so much more than mad, glad, sad, right? There's so much depth in the English language on how we can express ourselves. And we stick to very basic terms. I never accept fine or good or bad from clients. That is not an acceptable answer to how are you doing today or what's present for you today. We need to be more accurate and expressive with what we're experiencing. It's just good for everything and everyone.
And that's why I'm obsessed with Brene Brown and not her most recent book, but her last one, because it's all about the different emotions.
Oh, I love that. I don't think I even know this. I haven't heard of a recent Brene Brown.
So she just did Stand Strong Ground, just came out, but I'm gonna have to look at it. But it's about emotions, and she also has an HBO special tied to it. Ooh. And so it's like breaking down each emotion in this book is not just her like and her storytelling and her research. It's taking every emotion. She made it very colorful. She made it very pretty. She's like, it's designed to be that coffee table book that's really, really pretty that someone picks up and then thumbs through and then lands on calm or rage or envy and is like, oh. And Ari and I talked in a previous episode as well of just like looking up different ideas and emotions and then all of that kind of thing. But that's what I love. It's this big, huge red honking book. So it's definitely a coffee table book, but it's like exactly what you said. Are you angry? Okay, so what is anger? Is it hurt? Is it shame? Is it fear? Is it sadness? Is it like...
Yeah.
I love her language because she does say that to emotions. And I'm like you, even with my own clients, like, ugh, I feel like blech today. And I was like, well, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah. What does that mean? Classic therapist, what does that mean? Where do you feel it in your body? How would you like to feel? What image comes up at the thought of that? What thought comes up at the feeling? Like there's so much exploration to be had. It's, again, being willing to go there with yourself instead of dismissing your needs of like, oh, it doesn't matter. We don't need to get into it. We can just, how are you? Like back to you. We're moving on from me.
And I want to hear I want to hear your love language, but she said image. And because I'm doing a body image workshop that is not a workshop, it's like a discussion. And one of my clients was like, so what does that mean? And I'm like, well, when I say gym, what do you think? And she's like, big building, lots of people. And I was like, and does that make you happy? No. So, but I want to hear Aria's love language, but you said that and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm literally doing that and setting up for that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so helpful. I think for me, I feel love with words of affirmation, even though sometimes I don't let them sink in.
Ever.
Yeah, a lot. But it's better than nothing because I was with many narcissists. So I think that's why I value like kind words and then acts of service as well.
Great. Yeah, definitely.
So I'm going to try to do those things on myself.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. I love that. And I actually wanted to talk to both of you because the love language of touch brought up for me that I feel like a lot of women place value on their physical body. And so if we could kind of have a conversation of like, how can you show self-love to all the other things that are wonderful about you and not worry about the physical aspect value? And I bring up, that a lot about talking about the whole person, but I want to hear from you because you do kind of have some body image expertise.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, can you clarify the question?
Yeah, the question is, what else can women value in themselves? Because it's very societal to be physical focused.
Look a certain way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the answer is kind of limitless. What can't you value? Maybe you really value how compassionate you are. Maybe you really value what a hard worker you are, how much you care about your family, how devoted you are to helping others, your role, work, career, those can kind of spiral into more of that workaholism, or now I place my value on success or the level that I reach. So I'd be cautious with placing our value on productivity and performance. But I think it's the qualities of who you are. What do you value in life? I mean, I've been doing this work for like close to 15 years, and no one ever says, what do I value? my physical body. 100%, I just want to look a certain, like, sure, that might be the first glib answer, but then when we start to dig deep, it's like, I want to feel accepted. I want to feel desired. I want to feel loved, safe, secure, nourished, protected. So it's just such a surface value, and it makes sense. It's the first thing we see. It's how we take in the world. There is a value in being able to see and observe and have visual imagery to kind of base our just how we take in the world, but it's just a very surface experience, and it creates a lot of problems. My background is in the beauty and entertainment industry, and so just even recently, there's quite a few shows on TV right now that are talking about, you know, the sacrifices of needing to look a certain way and body image expectations and beauty ideals, yet they're buying into it. You know, it's not a total like retaliation. Like, people still want it so badly, and it makes sense because we're putting it on a pedestal. It's a trillion-billion-dollar industry, right? So I don't think that's going to go away, and I don't think we have to go hardcore, completely 180 opposite, rejecting beauty, but it has to be what is, in my opinion, what is healthy, sustainable, and brings you peace of mind. I think things that we strive for that affect our health, that affect our values, that affect our behavior, our mental health, those are very short-lived, and they can create a lot of harm. So I always think, you know, what is sustainable, what is long-term, what is unique to you? And that's a very long-winded, tangential answer to your question.
We love it. We love it. We love it.
Yeah, that was perfect. That was exactly what I was looking for. So I'm really big on values and like living your life to your values. And it is really hard, even for me, to ignore messaging and advertising, because that's all it is. It's industries trying to get your attention. And so it takes your time and energy away from the things that really matter.
Yeah.
So it's just important to come back and like ground yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was helpful.
Yeah, I'm staring at my values. I have it written on my desk. I see it every day. It's very important to have something to anchor you, because we're all susceptible to it. If you are alive today, and if you have social media or a television or access to the internet, you will be triggered, and you will get this message of like, if only you did this, or if only you looked a little more like that, you know, that's just unavoidable. So it's very important to have something deeper and more meaningful and more long lasting, because whether we're talking about height, weight, body type, face, like, we will continue to change till the day we die. There's nothing that we can hold on to. No amount of Botox or plastic surgery is going to, like, you know, cement you in time, and we will always change forever and ever and ever. So whether it's weight or wrinkles or this or that, we just have to accept our ever-changing appearance and not get so attached to it, because then that will create a lot of suffering. And I mean, we see it all the time. We see, you know, the Jane Fondas that are in their 80s and are still talking very publicly about their struggle with an eating disorder, their addiction to beauty procedures, and just not feeling good enough at 80 something after a life of being in the spotlight, you know, and being considered by some like one of the most beautiful women that ever lived. And so it's just like, okay, but look at where that got her, right? So she's still not satisfied within herself. And so I appreciate women like that can be so vocal and honest, instead of the culture of, you know, I've had nothing done and this is just naturally who I am. It's like, no, we all have eyes. We know. We know. It's like, you know, like dating apps, when someone like puts a filtered photo of themselves on, it's like, we're going to meet you in person. We're going to act, we have eyes. We're going to see what you look like. So to each their own, that's their own journey. But we need to just, again, check ourselves. What do we value? What is going to bring us long-term peace, happiness, fulfillment?
Yes, absolutely.
Auria, your question actually triggered in me, it brought up a lot of my chronic pain peeps because they completely want to be disconnected because they're so uncomfortable and their body's almost a war zone. And so just the quote air quote simple of not being in pain for a lot of my peeps has changed their whole life, where it's like I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. And it comes in of like, oh, I just want to feel better, blah blah, and like Ilona said, it's like it's never what it's actually about when they meet me for the first time. But I'd say they are probably the most disconnected, hateful towards their own physical touch, towards their own physical aspect, because it kind of sucks a lot of the time living in their own skin. Or my chronic illness, autoimmune disease, which also is myself. Like a lot of those peeps, it's a very hard. The physical is the hardest.
Yeah, definitely. I work a lot with autoimmune conditions, definitely, and that is a very challenging thing. And especially even with the pain, pain reprocessing therapy is all about the meaning you attach to the pain and the anticipation of more pain and rewiring your brain to be able to witness and experience pain without like that freak out of like, okay, now I'm going to be in pain forever. And now I can't do it. Like, it really is rewiring your brain into a very present, mindful acceptance. And acceptance does not mean you like it. It just means you're not resisting what is. And that's where a lot of suffering comes in for autoimmune and chronic pain patients, is like this resistance of like, but I hate that this is what it is. And it's like, okay, but it is what it is. So can we work on that being with instead of trying to resist? And that's very hard. It's so much easier said than done, but it's kind of the only way through.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely easier said than done, but so important to do that kind of work.
And gives a lot of freedom and hope and resiliency. I think everything in life, we can look at the good and the bad. So even just being willing to take that perspective, what's good about it, what's bad about it, what's good about it, what's bad about it, it always ends up kind of being a net.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's made me go into a whole niche of humans just to help them feel seen and feel heard, and not just be like, you need to run and not stop and harder and blah, 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 and all the different videos that bark at you. And I'm like, no, we pause, we listen. And it's put me in that very specific niche of like, if you've ever felt any kind of way and you're like, well, this person doesn't get me, like, come on down.
Yeah. It's made you probably very patient and curious and a good listener and attentive and aware. So, yeah.
I didn't start down the whole fitness path to go this way.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, pain to purpose. That's literally every successful individual is, they're really passionate about something because of lived experience. Same for myself. Same goes. Why am I in the women's mental health? Because I've been down that road. I was in the beauty and entertainment industry. I experienced my own eating disorder and my own autoimmune condition. And like, yeah, absolutely. We learn through lived experience. So I don't look back at anything and think like, oh my God, why this? And this was so awful. It's made me who I am.
Same.
Yeah. It's made us good at what we do.
Yes. At least I like to think that I'm good.
Yeah, you are.
Thank you. I roll.
Reminder like, number 1 million.
Yeah, she's like, have we learned nothing in this conversation?
Oh, we're both way too stubborn for that.
I know.
You're being nice and professional.
And I completely agree that passion and purpose go hand in hand. And it's so important to have the intrinsic motivation that unfortunately comes from dark places, dark experiences.
Yeah.
But that is fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
And I feel that way from like a women ending up matching with narcissists perspective. Like, I don't regret any of it, as horrible as it was, because I pull people out of those relationships so fast.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very grateful for that. And even though I was not pulled out, it does not stop me from helping other people. It makes me want to do it even more.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Absolutely. Resiliency.
Yes. Yes.
There is such a thing as post-traumatic resiliency. So.
What?
You know how there's like PTSD?
Yeah. But like
post-traumatic resiliency.
But say more.
Well, it's not my expertise, so I don't know how much more there is to say. I just know that they haven't been able to really figure out why some individuals go down more towards the traumatic stress side versus the traumatic resiliency. But there are those individuals. I mean, what you were just sharing about your experience and what you would say about your journey and experience is like, okay, well, my trauma made me more resilient. Instead of my trauma disempowered me and has me suffer all day, every day. It's like, okay, maybe I went through a period of suffering, but it also gave me a lot of purpose and a lot of desire to strive for something different, something more.
That's amazing.
I never thought about that. That's brilliant.
Yeah. I haven't thought about it like that either.
Yeah.
Not in that way.
And there's obviously a time and a place, that's a perspective we get to further it down in our journey. Someone who has experienced trauma, that's not ever something we're going to start with and be like, well, this is the greatest thing that happened to you. But eventually down the line, it can be very profound and meaningful. And even, from like a grief standpoint, everyone knows about the 5 stages of grief, but the 6th stage of grief is meaning making. What meaning are you going to make of what you just went through? And so same thing, I think, is very important for trauma or any kind of physical ailment or challenge. What is the meaning we're going to give to it? What is the narrative? What is the story that we are now going to repeat over and over and over again for the rest of our lives? And hopefully we change that and we upgrade that and we keep refining that story so that it's more a story of resiliency and hope. But it's not going to start there. So if you're listening and you're triggered by what we just said, it's like, yes, there's a time and a place for every stage of the journey.
Yes, and I've had my nights screaming at the sky for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah. Good release.
Yep. Oh yeah, it feels good. I like to lift heavy things, but I like to scream at things too when no one can hear, because otherwise they're going to call the cops.
Fair. Okay, so for the two of you, what would you say is a good way to start a self-love journey in a physical way? Because for me, I don't know the science, and Bethany does, and she would probably try to explain it to me and I wouldn't understand. But I always tell my clients, like, please work out, please sleep enough, please eat well. But how do we make that into self-love from an actual therapeutic perspective?
I think look at different aspects. We've got mental health, physical health, relational health. Those are like a good place to start. And so do some audits. How am I taking care of myself? And yes, that means nourishment, your thoughts, your sleep, your movement, who you spend time with, where you spend your time. So just like all aspects of wellness. You don't have to do it all, but just through this conversation, I'm sure people listening had little hits of wisdom and intuition. So follow your intuition. If while we were talking, you kept going back to the fact that you stay up late at night watching TV and you have bedtime revenge and then you're dragging and have a terrible morning, okay, that's a great place to start implementing self-love, is having some better boundaries with technology and trying to work on your sleep hygiene and really prioritizing the quality of sleep, and that will absolutely impact your morning and the rest of the day. So I think it's going to look different for everyone, but maybe just do a little audit of how you live your life and where there's maybe points of conflict or stuckness or dissatisfaction that you kind of in the back of your mind are always wanting to change. That's probably your inner wisdom waving the red flag of like, start here. This is a good thing to start working on.
Oh, I love that. And from my perspective of like movement, everyone's like, "Ugh, I hate the gym," or like the first thing that pops into your head is whatever, because we're coming into resolution season and we're coming into the fact that every woman on this planet, for the most part, sadly, wants to change something about herself. And I'm just like, well, what do you enjoy that is moving? Because like the idea of fitness, and my therapist had to break this down for me because I'm like, oh, I never get to work out, blah, blah. And she's like, well, aren't you lifting weights all night long with your own clients? And I'm like, well, that doesn't count. And she's like, well, why? And so I like to say if it's a dance break in the shower or without slipping and falling, but if it's like something that is like you like to jam and you like to clean and something that's just getting your blood pumping, but also like brings a smile to your face. Cause like for me, Ari knows this, I dance all the time. And so that I like to break the mold of what fitness is, cause it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I think movement is just be in your body. You can literally be laying on the ground and just focusing on your breath. You can do a lot of cardio just with breath work, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
So it doesn't even have to be like, I really got into Pilates because I was like, give me a workout where I can lay down. Like, I was like, this is amazing. And now I'm obsessed with it. And it's evolved into, so many other things. But literally at that point in my journey, I was just like, I want a workout where I can like start laying down and still be moving.
Yep.
So get creative. There's no right or wrong. Whatever helps you be in your body and just experience different pacing of breath, get your heart rate going a little bit. Yeah, there's no right or wrong for any of this.
Agreed. I love it. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, that's very helpful. So it's funny, every time I tell my clients, go work out, do what you love. I know that at least. And every time they're like, wow, I feel so much better. So that's honestly why I wanted to partner with Bethany, because she has that part completely taken care of. And I don't even have to say anything because I can just do the mental health stuff very specifically.
Yeah.
But I think that that's really cool just about humans is movement goes such a long way.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to carve out time for that as best as you can.
Yeah, definitely. There's no separating mind and body. They go hand in hand. Mind affects body, body affects mind. And so it has to be a joint effort.
And also, we haven't had all of this stuff for very long. The technology, the lights, we were sitting by campfires and roaming and walking a whole lot longer than we were sitting at screens in offices under fluorescent lighting.
Yeah.
This is very, very recent, and we're evolving towards it, which is also kind of scary.
Yeah. And that brings up also something loving you can do is get daylight, first thing in the morning, midday, before the sun goes down, just without sunglasses, without glasses, let your eyeballs get some UV, natural light. Don't stare at the sun, obviously. That's not what I'm saying. But stare at a horizon. That's typically a good rule of thumb. Even just a few minutes, it sets your circadian rhythm. It helps you out long after you've been outside. So, yes.
She's speaking my language.
Yes, actually, I've been having so many of the loss of daylight conversations with clients because of daylight savings, and they're always like, I get so depressed in the winter because I drive to work in the dark and I leave work in the dark. Okay, can we take a break and go outside?
Yeah.
And enjoy the light.
Yeah.
Even just standing in the sun for everybody's got 5 minutes in an office.
Yeah.
And just standing outside and just bathing. Like, it's the best feeling ever, especially if you do work in an office and you're in the frozen air conditioned office that everybody's so cold. It's like, just go stand bake for a little while. You're not going to come out looking like, I don't know, someone who's been tanning for 57 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there anything else, Ilona, that you wanted to go over?
I think that's a lot of food for thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You are amazing. And I will be personally taking some of your advice, which I'm very excited about.
That makes me happy. You are both amazing. So thank you for doing this and giving information to people that might not otherwise have access to it. I love the podcast format. I think it can be so informative for people. So I'd say, like, take one thing away from this conversation and try to practice it, and then we'd call that a success.
Amen. Thank you. Yes.
Love it. And then if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Instagram and my website are great places. Ilona Varo, it's ILONAVARO.com, or at Ilona Varo on Instagram. I post all the time, so it's a good place to just kind of get your thoughts percolating. And I have so many free resources on my website. There's a place called Free Gifts, and it's like worksheet after worksheet, journal prompts. So there's no shortage of ways that people can kind of start down this journey.
Amazing. That's what we like. Access.
Woohoo!
Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Wish you guys lots of success.
Thank you for joining us on UpLift Women's Wellness.
We're so grateful to have you as part of our community. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs it.
Follow us on social media for updates and extra inspiration between episodes.
And remember, you're stronger, braver, and more capable than you know. Until next time,
Stay strong, stay empowered, and keep uplifting each other.